Hey guys, so in this video we are going to actually ask the player to choose to play with odds or evens. So right now we are using once again static value, so user is always playing with odds and the computer is always playing with evens. And here we need to change this to ask the player, okay, do you want to play with odds or do you want to play with evens? So the first thing that we need here actually is a way to identify what is odds and what is evens. And basically the best way here is to assign a numeric value to each one of the options. So we can say that odds is 1, and I can say that evens is a number 2, for example. And so when we have this, now we can create a variable that is going to hold what the player is playing with, what is the number type that the player is playing with. And since we now have a numeric value that identify what is odds and what is even, so odds is 1 and evens is 2, we can create a new variable, which is a new integer variable, that we can call it player number type. It's not actually a number type, but I don't know how to identify what is odds or evens. So, okay, player number type. And we can ask the player to choose a number between 1 and 2 that's going to represent odds or evens. So we already know how to do this. So game input, number 1 and number 2. So, but before this, we need to also add a message so that the player understands what he needs to input and what he's actually doing with the number that he's selecting. So game print and input. And here, let me see what is the message that we are going to write. Choose your side. Yeah, okay. Yeah, something like this. Choose your side. Side is not the best way to put it, but it works. And here we can do something like, okay, 1 is odds and 2 is evens. And to make it even better, because this is going to be all on a single line, we can use the line break character to break this into multiple lines. And the line break character is basically this one. So when you do something like this, it will, not like this, sorry, like this. It will break the line into a new character. So basically, this one is the line break character. And now when we run this, you're going to see that the game is going to stop at the beginning with the message, okay, choose your side. 1 is odds, 2 is evens. Oh, I made a mistake. Yeah, I made a mistake, sorry. It's not this one. You don't need a... I was distracted. You don't need a... It's only the backslash and the n. This one, yeah, is the break line character. You don't need the other one. That's why it didn't work. So yeah, now we have choose your side. 1 is odds, 2 is even. So I choose, okay, we were playing with odds, so now I'm playing with evens. But now we have this problem because we are printing that the user is odds and computer is even. So we need to change this to print what is the actual value. So here we can use the player number type. And so if the player number type is equal to 1, it means that the user is odds and that the computer is evens. Else, it's the other way around. So we can just copy this, put here, which means that user is evens and computer is odds. Let's run it again. Let's just see if we select odds, then it's gonna run this one. If we select evens, it's gonna run this one. So if I choose number 1, user is odds, computer is evens, that's okay. Let's run it again. And if we choose number 2, it's gonna print what's here. User is evens and computer is odds. Okay, so that's correct. But now we still have to change some other things because here on step number 5, we were assuming that when the result is even, the computer wins the round. But this is no longer true because now we don't know or we don't know yet for sure what is what side the player is playing with. So we need to also add something here. So we need to change this condition. And basically, we don't actually need to change that condition. We can leave that here. So computer wins the round and the player wins the... sorry, no, the computer wins the round. No. Yeah, we need to remove all this from here. So I'm going to create a new condition here that says, okay, result is even, because we are actually missing some console write lines here. That's why. Okay, so when the result is even, I just want to have something that says, okay, result is even, or, and I'm going to change it also afterwards, but result is odd. Let me just see. Yeah, result is odd. Also, I'm going to show you how to make this into a simpler option, but later. But now here, that's one that doesn't make any sense. So we can no longer use something like this because the computer wins a round or the player wins a round. So, and I'm going to change this as well. So I want to have a condition to detect when the player wins the round, or if the player doesn't win the round, then the computer wins the round. Okay, now we need to figure out a way to create this condition here. And the player wins the round when the player is playing with, let's say, odds and the result is odd, or when the player is playing with evens and the result is evens. So basically what we need to check here is that if the player is playing with evens, and that's what, and that's because we already have a variable that tells us that the result is even. So if the result is even and the player is playing with evens, then it means that the player wins the round. And if the result is not even and the player is not playing with evens, then it means that the player also wins the round. So basically what we need here is a new variable. It's going to be a boolean variable that tells us that the player, lowercase, that player is evens. And how do we know that the player is evens? When the player number type is equal to number 2. So here, this variable is going to be true when the player is playing with evens, and now our condition can be when the result is even is equal to when player is evens. Because if the result is even and the player is evens, it means that, okay, player is playing with evens and the result is even, okay, player wins the round. But if the result is not evens and if the player is not evens as well, the player also wins the round, because it means that the player is playing with odds and that the result is also odds. And so this is the best way to create this new condition. And now let's see if this is working. Okay, so I'm playing with odds, let's say. Okay, user is odds, computer is evens. Choose a number between 1 and 2. I'm going to choose 1. User chooses 1, computer chooses 1. Result is even, computer wins the round. I'm going to choose number 2. Result is odd, and I'm playing with odds, so player wins the round. That's correct. 1. And result is even, I'm playing with odds, so computer wins the round. Okay, yeah, so this is working. And yeah, so now we have the entire logic for our game. So on the next video, we are just gonna make the game a little bit prettier. You know, I'm gonna like ask the player for his name, and then we are gonna change these print messages to look a little bit better. So yeah, that's what we are going to do. So I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.